A single shoulder check generated more headlines than most Super Bowl games. A finger to the eye sparked death threats that lasted for months, and an overtime thriller had celebrities, politicians, and millions of viewers glued to their screens until the final buzzer. These aren't exaggerations. These are the WNBA games that genuinely broke the internet and divided the nation. The explosion started on a June afternoon in Indianapolis that nobody saw coming. The Indiana Fever hosted the Chicago Sky in what should have been a standard regular season matchup. Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation who had already transformed the league's viewership numbers, stood near the baseline waiting for an inbounds pass. She was completely unaware of what was about to happen. Chennedy Carter had just made a basket for Chicago. Instead of transitioning back on defense, she turned and locked eyes on Clark. What followed looked more like an NHL play than a basketball sequence. Carter lowered her shoulder and delivered a body check that sent Clark crashing to the hardwood. The impact was violent and unexpected. The referees barely glanced at the play. No whistle, no review, just play on. But the cameras captured everything, including Angel Reese leaping off the Chicago bench, arms raised in celebration like her teammate had just hit a championship-winning shot. Within minutes, the footage had millions of views. Within hours, it dominated every sports talk show in America. The debate raged across social media, dinner tables, and newsrooms. Was Clark being targeted? Was this jealousy over her popularity? Or was this simply physical basketball that every rookie faces? Carter's post-game response threw more gasoline on the fire. When reporters asked about the incident, she shut them down cold. "I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions." Then she walked away without another word. The silence became its own story. Her coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, later released a statement acknowledging Carter got caught up in the heat of the moment. But for many fans, the damage was already done. The next day, the WNBA stepped in and upgraded the foul to a flagrant one, essentially admitting the referees had missed the call during the game, but they stopped short of issuing any fine or suspension, which only intensified the outrage from both sides. Carter had become either a villain or a hero, depending on which side of the Clark debate you stood. Clark herself handled it with surprising composure. She didn't retaliate during the game. She didn't trash talk afterward. She simply said she'd learned to expect the physicality and that responding emotionally would only hurt her team. "I'm trying not to let it bother me," she explained, but her measured words did nothing to calm the storm. The incident had become a cultural flashpoint that transcended basketball entirely. The controversy had barely cooled when the playoffs arrived and delivered an even more disturbing moment. The Fever faced the Connecticut Sun in the first round with their entire season on the line. Dijonai Carrington was tasked with guarding Clark, and early in the game, she reached for a steal. Her fingers caught Clark directly in the eye. The contact left Clark with a visible black eye that would last for days. No foul was called during the game. Later, cameras caught Carrington and teammate Marina Mabrey sharing a laugh on the bench. For millions watching at home, this was undeniable proof of malicious intent. They were celebrating injuring a superstar. Death threats flooded Carrington's social media. Accusations of deliberately trying to blind Clark dominated every platform. The hatred was overwhelming. 2 days later, a reporter asked Carrington directly if she had intentionally poked Clark in the eye. The question itself was remarkable. No serious journalist would suggest a professional athlete deliberately tried to blind an opponent. Carrington's response was incredulous. "I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me. I didn't know I hit her, actually." Even Clark defended her opponent. "It wasn't intentional by any means," she told reporters, while laughing at the absurdity of the question. "You just watched the play. It wasn't intentional." But Clark's own words couldn't stop the onslaught. The narrative had already been written, and facts became irrelevant to those who had already decided Carrington was guilty. The rivalry that had captivated college basketball reached its professional peak the following May. The Fever hosted the Sky. In the 2025 season opener, 20,000 fans packed the arena. Millions watched on television. Everyone wanted to see Clark and Reese face off again after their heated history dating back to college. The game itself became a blowout. Indiana demolished Chicago 93-58. matching the second-largest margin of victory in franchise history. But nobody remembers the score. They remember what happened in the third quarter when everything nearly spiraled into a full-blown fight. Reese grabbed an offensive rebound. Clark reached in hard to make a play on the ball. Her hand connected with Reese's arm, jarring the ball loose and sending Reese tumbling to the floor. What happened next nearly turned into a brawl. Reese sprang up ready for confrontation. She moved toward Clark with obvious intent. Aaliyah Boston, Clark's teammate and one of the strongest players in the league, immediately stepped between them. The tension was palpable. You could feel the arena holding its breath. Referees huddled and reviewed the footage carefully. The verdict: Clark's foul upgraded to flagrant one for unnecessary contact. Both Boston and Reese received technical fouls for their roles in the aftermath. The game continued, but social media had already erupted before they even finished the review. Every angle was dissected, every reaction analyzed. The takes came flooding in. Clark maintained it was simply a basketball play. "I went for the ball, clear as day in the replay," she said afterward. "I wasn't trying to do anything malicious." Reese took the opposite approach. When reporters asked for her thoughts, she gave a one-word answer: basketball. Her spokesperson then cut off any follow-up questions. The silence was deafening and only fueled more speculation. But individual confrontations only told part of the story. The New York Liberty's championship run delivered drama that rivaled any sports moment of the decade. The Liberty were an original WNBA franchise with 27 years of heartbreak weighing on their shoulders. 5 finals appearances, 5 losses, including the previous season against the Las Vegas Aces. The drought was becoming unbearable. Game 1 at Barclays Center started perfectly. New York built an 18-point lead against Minnesota. The sellout crowd was delirious. Championship confetti seemed inevitable. Then everything collapsed in spectacular fashion. Minnesota stormed back. Courtney Williams hit a 4-point play with 5.1 seconds remaining to give the Lynx their first lead of the entire game. After forcing overtime, Nafisa Collier sealed the victory with a fadeaway jumper. Minnesota became the first team in WNBA playoff history to win after trailing by 15 points in the final 5 minutes. The Liberty had choked in historic fashion on their home court. The series went to 5 games. The winner-take-all finale became an instant classic that will be replayed for decades. Sabrina Ionescu, one of the greatest shooters in league history, put up a performance that defied explanation. She went 1 for 19 from the field. 18 misses on 19 attempts. Any other day, that shooting performance would have doomed her team completely. With New York trailing by 2 in regulation, Breanna Stewart was fouled with 5.2 seconds left. The same Stewart who had missed a crucial free throw at the end of Game 1, she stepped to the line with 27 years of championship drought on her shoulders. Both shots went in. Tie game. Overtime. Minnesota missed all 6 of their field goal attempts in the extra period. Stewart hit 2 more clutch free throws, with 10.1 seconds remaining to seal it. The 27-year drought was finally over. Confetti fell from the rafters. Frank Sinatra's New York, New York blared through Barclays Center. Spike Lee, wearing his Ionescu jersey courtside, jumped and screamed with pure joy. Former Liberty players broke down in tears. The series had shattered every ratings record. Each game drew over 1 million viewers. Women's basketball had delivered drama on par with any championship in sports history. Individual achievements that season were equally unprecedented. Aja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces put together arguably the greatest season in WNBA history. She became the first player to score 1,000 points in a single season, finishing with 1,149. She set the single-season rebounding record with 451. She earned unanimous MVP honors, becoming only the second player in league history to sweep every first-place vote. Wilson's dominance transcended mere statistics. Multiple 40-point games throughout the season. The first player to record 5 consecutive games with 20 points and 10 rebounds. The first to post 35 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 steals in a single game. She even had a 20-point, 20-rebound performance. Comparisons to Michael Jordan's peak years became common talking points. Her coach suggested Wilson wasn't just the best player in the WNBA. She was the best player in basketball, period. Perhaps the moment that most clearly defined the season's significance came during the 2025 All-Star Game. Before tip-off, every player walked onto the court wearing black warm-up shirts. The message printed on them was impossible to miss. Pay us what you owe us. The protest was strategic and unified. WNBA players currently receive less than 10% of league revenue. Their male counterparts in the NBA receive roughly 50%. The game itself became the ultimate demonstration. Final score, 151-131, the highest scoring All-Star game in WNBA history. Both sides had clearly decided not to play defense. The message was clear. We're unified, we're valuable, and we demand what we deserve. These moments accomplished something remarkable. They proved that women's basketball could generate the same passion, controversy, and viewership as any men's sport. The physical altercations showed competitive fire. The championship drama delivered clutch performances. The record-breaking individual seasons provided superstar talent, and the protests demonstrated social consciousness. But beyond statistics and highlights, these moments exposed deeper truths. They revealed pay disparities that demanded attention. They uncovered racial tensions within fan bases that required addressing. They demonstrated that women athletes weren't content to simply exist. They demanded respect, compensation, and recognition equal to their talent. The WNBA is no longer waiting for permission to be relevant. It's demanding its place at the table. And judging by the games that broke the internet, the league isn't just knocking on the door, it's kicking it down completely. The question isn't whether women's basketball belongs in the mainstream conversation. That's already been answered definitively. The real question is whether we're witnessing the beginning of something that will eventually dwarf everything that came before. Based on these unforgettable moments, that possibility seems more real than ever.